And I am of the mind that it was always some type of an explosive device. There were way too many angles that I saw of the assassination. And again, this is the whole thing about it being a citizen's effort, citizen's arrest, uh, citizen's justice, whatever this is. It was amateur video that showed what really happened to Charlie. It was amateur video that showed George Zinn. It was amateur video that showed somebody crawling along the rooftop. It was amateur video that captured the complete cover-up of the crime scene.
So I have to correct you.
Correct
on something. The first 3 videos that we got out of that, out of the event that day, first one is it's taken from the balcony, and it's the shot that everyone thought he shot in the chest, right? So second one is what I call that the one on the balcony. Second one is what I call the waterfall video, which is the one where it's close and we see the neck. I call that the waterfall video. Third one is the one that we get where the guy's running across the roof, and that's out of the Hall of Flags. All 3 of those were taken by someone on the assassination team. Okay, these people were planted throughout the crowd, and they were planted in such a way to paint a very, very particular picture for us, right? Number one, that first video, the one that went mega viral because it had no blood, right? So this was uploaded onto X by an account called, it's called UNN Headlines, right? This was a 40,000 follower account on X that had been around for less than a year. And I wanted to know where these videos came from, who had them, right? This account actually has all 3 of the videos. It's the first one to upload all of them, and they allow all of them to be downloaded. That's a very, very important part of the plan, because when you allow a video to be downloaded, everyone takes it and then they spread it, and it's very hard to figure out who the hell was the first person to download this? Where did you get this from, right? So all of those people, but those 3 videos painted this very, very particular picture for us. And I don't know how they've done it, but they've been able to keep most of the other videos out of, there were 3,000 students and I'm willing to, in that amphitheater, and I'm willing to bet that 2,800 of them at least had their phones out recording at that exact time. And yet we have maybe 12, maybe 15 videos out of all of the videos that happened, right? So, but those 3 were the most important because they painted the picture in people's minds. We had a shot to the chest. Oh, nope. I guess it went to the neck. And then we saw the guy running from the rooftop, and that's everything, right? And so, sorry, I didn't,
No, not at all. I think what it did was again, this is the whole thing about they had to kind of scramble because, we remember what happened at I guess it was the Turning Point Summerfest or whatever the event was called. I mean, look, that conversation that Charlie brokered between Dave Smith and the Timu. Josh Hammer. Yeah, I call him Timu Ben Shapiro. That was an example of Dave Smith destroyed Hammer so badly. And then it was shortly thereafter that he got dragged to the Hamptons, and like everything that just kind of followed from that.
Real quick.
Yeah.
A lot of people don't know this. Right before the weekend at the Hamptons, there was actually a Christian Zionist meeting with Yair Netanyahu as the guest speaker held at the White House, hosted by the Heritage Foundation. It was literally an emergency meeting called to address rising anti-Semitism on the right. Do you know what organization was not invited to this July 31st meeting?
Gee, who?
TPUSA, the largest conservative right-wing organization that exists, and they don't invite them?
But you can bet your bottom dollar they would be invited today.
You bet they are. Yep.
So here is the very specifically detailed and analyzed assassination. You judge for yourself. I mean, I know what I see.
Yeah.
You know, the other thing you have to remember is that this had to be done in public because the reason why these public executions have to happen is because it's supposed to send a direct signal to everyone else to understand that, just so you know, in case you were thinking about getting out of line, now you understand why this is done the way that it's done. We want you to understand that you will either walk the line or you will be removed, just like Charlie was. We could remove Charlie, we could remove anybody.
Yeah, that is the message, and it is maddening for me when people play stupid on that. Well, why wouldn't they just, they could take him out anywhere? It's like, because it's not about killing Charlie. It's about sending a message to everyone. Okay, it is about killing Charlie because TPUSA is dead now, right? So
it's dying. It'll be dead.
It's a freaking, it's a skeleton. But so one thing that's very important, so the left has typically been pretty good at organizing as opposed to the right as far as grassroots go, right? And so, the right, you saw the Tea Party, but that immediately got co-opted by billionaires and just got, squashed and whatnot. But so what Charlie had built was more, it's the only thing like it on the right, period, that exists. And it is it has the ability to be a grassroots network, right? Because it's on all the college campuses. It has very appealing branding and messaging. Something else you said, when they got rid of Charlie Kirk, not only do we get the Iran war, but had they not gotten rid of Charlie Kirk, Thomas Massey would probably, he would still be, he definitely wouldn't be, he would be the Republican nominee for Kentucky's 4th district. Marjorie Taylor Greene would probably still be in Congress. And they cannot, and when I say they, I mean the Israeli lobby in the US, the Zionist lobby in the US, they cannot allow dissent like that to grow on the right. They allow it a little bit on the left. And now we see, thank heavens, it's breaking through. Like it is you've got something like 29. We'll see. I'm always hesitant, on, there's a handful, there's about 5 on the left that I think are actually like solid, like really good, but still not taking money. That's a big step. Like that's going to become probably by 2028, if not definitely by 2030, it will be 100% toxic in the Democrat Party to take money from AIPAC or the Israeli lobby, period. It's already becoming very problematic.
Well, it's going to be very interesting, and we're going to play Baron Coleman's clip in a second. I think it is very telling that the person who has clearly started to pivot is Vance, because I think he understands that he doesn't really have a choice. He has to distinguish himself from Rubio, because Rubio is clearly going to be the choice of the pro-Israel cause. So in that regard, now his biggest benefactor, one of the biggest psychopaths on the earth, who Jen and I are convinced is a lizard person, Peter Thiel, he's already relocating to Argentina. Lord knows what that's all about, but it's a story for another day. Point is, things are changing, and I think in some respects, they're changing even quicker than I think we anticipated. And when you have fellow sleuths, in this case, like Baron Coleman, has done a great job. Here's what he had to say regarding the latest revelations with the exploding microphone.
Just a nonsensical position, guys. It doesn't make sense. Logically, it doesn't make sense. Rationally, it doesn't make sense. And it's vitally important to the case for 2 reasons. Reason number 1, it exposes a multi-agency cover-up that involves the FBI, the Utah State Bureau of Investigation, the sheriff in Utah County up in Orem and Provo, the sheriff in Washington County, who multiple times has gone on the record saying he did not arrive, whoever is the records custodian in Washington County who fiddled around with the tapes and wouldn't give them over to News 2. Like, you're talking about a multi-agency cover-up, potentially the prosecutors, if they try to go forward with this nonsense. That's a bad deal. So that's number 1, a multi-agency cover-up. It's a big deal. Number 2, it exposes the Fed sloppers. It shows you they're dishonest actors, that they can look at the totality of the body of the evidence and say, yeah, but the only interpretation that supports my position is that Tyler Robinson 20 hours after leaving his parents, 20 hours after being without a cell phone, 20 hours after not knowing what his parents were doing, 20 hours after not knowing if his parents got in touch with an attorney, 20 hours later is still thinking, well, I think my parents are trying to get in touch with them, but somehow I've divined. You know, in the jail, we have these, the steel toilets, right? Steel toilets just out in the middle of the room. I use it like a crystal ball. I know my parents haven't gotten in touch with Doug Terry yet. I've been looking into the toilet water. I was in there dropping tea leaves into the toilet water and reading the tea leaves. I know for a fact they have not gotten in touch with Doug Terry yet. But Tyler, you haven't talked to them in 20 hours. You haven't talked to them all day Friday. Maybe Doug Terry's sitting out in the waiting room. Well, I looked at the toilet. I saw the floater in there, and I saw the way it was spinning, and that told me that Doug Terry had not yet been contacted, and his office was closed for the night. He's probably one of those lawyers that does the rare Saturday morning office openings, I guess. I don't know. It's a Fed slop problem. And this is a huge part of this case is you have lying sacks of bull butter on the other side. I don't want to name them by name, but you know who they all are.
Cash Patel.
And they sit on the other side and they come through on their little white knights, on their little midget horses, and they do everything they can to support the Fed slop narrative because they know deep down the Fed slop narrative is falling apart.
Yeah.
How much more obvious could it be?
Right. So interestingly enough, I actually clipped from the biggest Fed slopper of them all is a guy named Gary Melton. He's a former Green Beret, or he is a Green Beret. He's retired, I guess. And, he's kind of taking the charge, taking the lead. And poor Gary, I think he's kind of dumb. I'm not going to be I'm not going to lie. I do think that he is a little dumb. I think he's definitely out of his element. He's very much.
You're out of your element, Donnie.
Gary.
No, it's a joke from Big Lebowski.
Oh, sorry. Yeah, it's been a long time since I've seen that movie. Yeah, he's very.
Well, a lot of people think I look like Buscemi. They think I look like a few different people, but Buscemi's one that I get a lot. So
I can see that, but not really, because he always looks sickly to me, and you don't ever look sickly to me. But
if you see,
I think it's the nose.
Yeah, well, when Buscemi was young, he was a firefighter, and if you look at him from like when he was like in his 20s, early 30s, I can see the resemblance then. Now, no, and I'm very grateful that I have nice teeth. Buscemi does not. So,
but interestingly enough, actually, can I pull it up? Can I share something real quick? Because I think you guys will like this. Did you happen to see my posts from?
I've seen a lot, but this one I may not have. So, you got something you want to?
Yeah, let's show it. I'm actually going to show it from my previously prohibited account, and let's see, because I think that this really okay. So Gary is the big one. Gary Melton is his name, and let's watch what he said. So he says this 2 days after Charlie is executed. This is his idea about what is going on underneath that shirt. Okay.
I think, Colin, do I have to do anything in terms of allowing Mel to share so that she can pull it up?
Okay, can you guys see it? Can you see it?
No.
You can't. Okay, let me see. Let's see.
Colin? I think that there's, let me see if I can.
I thought I saw it below. It'll be below, but you'll have to add it, Peter.
Okay, I'll take care of it then. Okay, I see it. All right, I'll pull it up.
You see it? Okay. There you go. And then I press play.
Go for it.
Here we are right here. He's talking. This is just moments before any shots are fired. And one of the things that you couldn't tell, or I couldn't tell from the initial video, is the fact that he is clearly wearing body armor. I want you to look at this outline. Without a doubt, he is wearing body armor. Now, there's lots of different types of body armor out there. It is very easy to conceal, even under something like a t-shirt And I think this is very, very similar to what Charlie Kirk is actually probably wearing right now. One thing of metallic body armor like this is you guys can see that if I do take a round, and especially it hits this contoured area, it can and does deflect up toward the wearer. But I want us to see what's going on in this particular instance with Charlie Kirk. So number one, we can definitely see that there is body armor there. And then I want us to move forward. I'm going to zoom in as tightly as possible, just to, again, try to keep this as clean as possible. So right here, we have the first frame in this particular video, and I don't know what frame rate this video was shot in. It was slowed down. This is the first sign of impact. I want you to notice with this shirt, we actually have the shirt, it is violently disturbed, but this shirt collar is moved all the way up to his ear. When I first saw this video, what it looked like to me is that Charlie Kirk was shot in the left side, and it looked like a direct hit into the left side of his neck. And I was also looking for an exit wound. But that doesn't explain why the shirt was moved the way that it was. As we move forward a little bit, I want you to see, folks, right here. I want you to notice that there is a spot on the shirt. And that spot on the shirt also correlates with the very top edge of this body armor. And you can also see the first appearance of an entrance wound. And that's really weird too. So when we see an entrance wound from a firearm, especially on the skin and something in an area that's soft tissue like the neck, we normally don't see such a large hole there with the entrance wound. We just don't. When skin is pierced, whether it's a projectile or anything else, you know, that stuff stretches out of the way, then it closes back in on itself. I've talked about this many times with, you know, 5.56 and even 9mm wounds, and I have seen 30 cal wounds and even larger wounds. A lot of times with these smaller caliber wounds, even up to 30 cal, it's hard to see a entrance wound at all, especially with 5.56, 9mm. A lot of times you got to stretch the skin. There's techniques that we use when we're assessing casualties where we stretch the skin apart and we're looking for those less than obvious wound channels with an entrance wound. Here we see a fairly massive wound. What is very clear to me is that we had a round that impacted the upper edge of his body armor, and then that round deflected directly upward. So now what we're dealing with is not only a deformed projectile, but it's also now moving upward, which would make the wound larger, both because of its deformation and now its angle of entry, and it's also probably fragmented as well. And that also makes a lot of sense to me because there is a side view of this footage. You know, originally I thought that round went directly into his neck and we would see some sort of exit wound on the back. I never saw that exit wound. And I think it's because basically we had that round hit, deflect directly upward and up into his cranial cavity. And I'm fairly certain that that projectile is still inside of his body. I also just watching this and his reaction and the way that he seized. And I know there was a lot.
Okay, so Gary had a lot. So number one, Gary did not for 1 second believe that a 30-06 round just hit him and then his bones of steel just stopped it on, Gary noted.
You mean it wasn't a miracle?
Gary noted all of the peculiars that everyone else did. Why did his shirt do that? Why did it ripple like that? Why did it go up by his ear, right? How the hell is there no exit wound, right? All the things. And he had lots of explanations. The big one to me is, what is this little speck right here? Okay, because in Gary's explanation, this is a fragmentation. Okay, I know he did drink milk, right? That boy was chugging milk every day of his life.
We were 90s kids too, you know.
Okay, we were, yeah. Okay, so Gary notes all of these things, and then Gary never mentions this again after October 4th. Never once. Doesn't talk about this on his he doesn't explain this way. Now, granted, Gary does a show all the time, and I have not watched through all of the hours, so perhaps, but Gary never felt the need to type this out. Now, he does feel the need to quote unquote debunk Candace Owens every chance he gets, but these long drawn out posts. But for whatever reason, Gary has never addressed how he squared that circle of what happened to the ricochet.
Mm-hmm. And that's
You know?
why I thought it was interesting, because now I recognize him. He was like, he was getting into a big tiff on X with Jimmy Dore, and I'm like, oh, okay,
Yeah.
listen,
Oh yeah.
Jimmy's out there. I know Jimmy personally, but
I
at the
love
same
him.
time, Jimmy, when he's like a dog with a bone. Like if he's on something and he's right about it, he is going to absolutely destroy you, and that is exactly what he did. And I'm looking at this guy Gary like, oh, this guy's a fan. Like
Yeah.
he's not saying what he should be saying if he makes a video like that, and then all of a sudden he got the phone calls. So
Oh, yeah.
let's bring it all home with our favorite gal, who just basically puts it all out there.
Are the worst people, many of them across the many events Charlie had put on stage and given a spotlight by Charlie Kirk. And they are now full-time trying to convince you that you shouldn't believe your own eyes and you should trust the feds. I know vengeance does not belong to me, but I have to tell you, it is really hard for me to curb the frustration, the anger, the disappointment, and equal parts rage that I feel toward those people. Here it is. Any questions about whether that's tempered glass? Now, you can say, you can't necessarily, we all agree it's glass, but it's definitely definitively not the car glass. But you could say, okay, let's arrive at this point. We'll say, I agree. Charlie's Rode microphone is shouted on the car, but it doesn't mean that it was rigged. Let's play devil's advocate. Doesn't mean that it was rigged. Okay. So tell us how it was broken in the car. You go be the conspiracy theorist, because that's what you're going to have to do. Your stories are going to have to get dumber and dumber. And while you're at it, could you also tell us why it is that, despite telling what happened in that car many times, oh, I didn't realize my kids were on the back seat, they heard everything, Frank's praying, we're speeding, we're weaving through traffic, I'm just packing that wound. Nobody mentioned this?
You know, the thing about lies, as you know, it's an old saying, every lie begets another lie. A lie, and a lie, and a lie, and a lie. When you tell the truth, you don't have to think about it. Telling the truth is easy because it doesn't require you to be like, oh, wait, should I say this or should I not say this? And what Candace just said really brings it all home.
Yeah.
What dose of even more pathetic slop are you going to try to throw now that we have ironclad evidence that something went down either in that car, or now you can see that clearly there was something that exploded, and who would be doing something like that?
Here's the thing. I know people think they can't get worse, but I need everyone to remember that these are the same people who will look at pictures of Gaza and tell you that's not a genocide. That's not a genocide. They will look at it and they will say, well, that's Hamas's fault. That's the 500,000 tons of bombs that were dropped in a 126 square mile piece of land. That's Hamas's fault. That's not Israel's fault. You made us do it. So these people actually don't even have a threshold. The threshold that you and I have for lying, like at some point we got to stop, right? Like, oh, we're caught, right? They don't have it. Okay. So everyone needs to be prepared for that. Okay, because they will go down with their ship.